Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. Today we are once again playing catch up, going over the remainder of the tournaments for set 21 Wild Resurgence. We're now in July, so you can consider this like the middle-ish of the format. I think we still have like maybe 2 more months. I think set 22 comes out in September, if I'm not mistaken. So we got quite a bit longer with this format, but things are definitely solidifying. Now, these are not the biggest tournaments by any means, so the data is always going to be a little bit skewed, but we are starting to see a little bit more in terms of like consistency with certain decks that are topping here. Now, we're going to go over specifically this LATAM July online regional and this TAC Australia online regional. So we're just gonna get right into it. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And if you guys do want to help support the channel, it does really help me out if you use my link in the description to TCG Player if you plan on buying any cards we talk about in this video, or any trading cards at all for any game for that matter. It really does help out. Anyways, let's go right into the data. So we'll start with the LATAM regional. Again, this was a webcam event, so most likely pre-side best of 1, no top cut. We have 41 players live streamed by the Lookout. Shout out to those guys. Now let's take a look at the top 8 here. Now, in this particular tournament, we do have Gohan taking up a pretty large amount of it, almost half, but first place is actually taken by the Kid Goku Yellow Reboot leader, which is a big fan favorite of mine. If you guys have been following the channel, you guys would know I absolutely love this leader. I almost played it at last year's Nationals. Like, this deck is still very good, and with the overall power level of the format coming down with like the ban of Gamma, Gogeta, and Sin, this deck and many other decks, to be honest, just get a whole lot better as a result. So very cool to see this deck take the win. We are, of course, going to take a look at this deck list. We do have a Black Crimson Trunks, though, which seems to be a bit more of a consistent topper in this format, which is very cool. I wouldn't have expected this to be the most repped black deck in the format. I would have maybe expected Spring Kai of Time to be the #1 black deck, but it seems like Trunks may be taking that #1 spot. We do have our yellow representatives. We have Majin Vegeta and Golden Frieza, no strangers to top cut in this format or last format. And we do have Blue Trunks Reboot taking second place, which actually came out in the same starter deck lineup as Yellow Kid Goku Reboot. So we'll take a look at that Trunks list as well. We'll see if it resembles Crimson at all, which is what people kind of looked to this leader to be, is like that Crimson Goku replacement. Now let's take a look at the Australian online event data. So we have a much more even top 8 here, one of each deck taking up one of each spot. And we have 39 players, so just about the same size as the LATAM online regional. Again, not the biggest tournaments as far as like inferring on data, but we are seeing some more consistency. Like, this is not the first time we've seen a blue Gohan superhero. Also not the first time we've seen Frieza swap. However, this future Gohan here is definitely pretty interesting. We do have Self-Control 21. We do have a Goku Black, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are excited about. We'll take a look at that as well. And we have a Cell Reboot. Now, one thing I want to talk about here, we don't have any Android 21 from set 20 power absorbed in either of these top cuts. Again, don't take that to say that that deck is dead or anything like that, because these are not the largest tournaments with the greatest amount of data to pull from, but it is interesting to note nonetheless. I think that Android 21 can maybe struggle a bit more in best of 1 if you don't exactly have the answers to aggro that you need, because that deck's worst matchup is and always will be aggro. So there's still a decent amount of aggro in this format. You know, I consider Green Gohan to be somewhat aggressive. We've got Frieza Swap being a little bit aggressive, Gohan superhero, of course, and then from the previous tournament here, we have Majin Vegeta, SSG Trunks, even the yellow Goku deck's a bit aggressive as well. So that could have definitely all led to why 21 was not represented here. Of course, it's also possible that not many players enter the tournament with it. That's also definitely a possibility. But now let's go ahead and take a look at these deck lists. So we have the Oceania first place Gohan list, and the reason I want to look at this is just because Vegeta preparing for battle was banned. That was the red card that allowed you to pick up Gogeta BR super combos from the drop over and over again. But of course, like, we just play Paragus defending father as a replacement. That's not really a big deal. Now, what's really cool about this list in particular is that it's mirroring another first place Australian Gohan list using the Surprise Attack Frieza engine, where you use the 1-star ball Parasitic Darkness, which lets you go into Frieza Dark Infestation, so you have a little bit of hand control there. But also, what this does, it allows you to recycle your Floodgate Uneasing Awakened Rage back to your hand by placing this guy in the drop area, which is pretty insane, to be honest. Very powerful stuff here. We also see Grade 8 Vegeta Last Ditch Transformation, which many people were hyping this card up like a crazy amount going into the release of this deck, and it wasn't super popular in all the first place lists, but I think now that more space has been created with the ban of Vegeta preparing for battle, I do think it makes sense to play this card. I think it's a very good card for sure. Going out of the side deck here, we have our Unison Hate, we have our anti-hand control, we have our anti-dimension magic. 2 copies of Goku Kamehameha Deflection, incredible card. Koitsukai, of course. Urgent Aid Kami, definitely some hate for Soul Striker and Golden, which are definitely decks to somewhat expect in this format. And then 1 copy of Shin Noble Supremacy, possibly for the mirror match, but also for other random large boss monsters that you just don't want attacking you, especially if you go second. So yeah, not too much to say here. I mean, we've seen a lot of green Gohan in this format. I guess the inclusion of Cell's Earth Destroying is also pretty neat here as well. Not super common in a lot of these Gohan decks. But yeah, I wanted to take a look at it, see if anything big changed from the ban of Vegeta preparing for battle. Now let's take a look at the second place Cell list. Now this list goes full on into like the degenerate combo that the deck is able to do. Not that it's like uninterruptible or unbeatable or anything, but it is very, very powerful when you pull it off. So basically the combo here is you play Kaioken Goku the Furious for 1, make your opponent pitch a card, because that's what the card does on play. Next up, you've got finishing Spirit Bomb Son Goku, which you'll evolve right over that Kaioken Goku. So you discard 1 card and evolve it. And when this card attacks, choose up 3 green battle cards in your drop and combo with them. So what you really want to set up is as many copies as possible of Stout Hearted Android 16 in your drop area. This way, when you attack with the Goku, you combo 3 of these, make your opponent discard 3 cards. That's total of discard 4 for 2 energy, as long as you have that setup, which, you know, this deck definitely sees quite a bit of itself, cycles through itself very, very quickly. So it's very consistent, definitely able to get there, and I do like the clean 50 card list for a strategy like this. You want it to be ripping through your deck as fast as possible to find all those super combos and set up this combo. So yeah, definitely like weak to stuff like yellow, where it can make Goku enter play in rest mode. That's like one example, although this is much better against blue because Godsling Technique Trunks is no longer a card that they're able to play. So this is definitely a much better combo in this current format. We'll go down to the side deck here. A lot of the same stuff. What's really cool here is actually Dark King's Flash. So we have counter attack. That's not really important here though. Activate main. If your opponent has 5 or more energy, your opponent can't play battle cards using leader skills until the end of their next turn. Okay, I wonder what particular deck in this format this player wanted this in against. I remember this being a really cool card against Yellow Sin Shenron back in the day, because yeah, you would basically just shut down their leader effect, which was basically their win condition. So I don't know, I'm probably missing something super obvious, but right off the top of my head, I can't think of what exactly this player wants this for. But very, very cool side deck tech nonetheless. Let's take a look at the Goku Black list, which many players were disappointed about this deck on release because it just had such a hard time against red. But now that red has been neutered quite a bit, and honestly it's not popular at all in this format, this is actually probably a great time for Goku Black fans to pick up this deck. So let's take a look here. Pretty standard green stuff. I do wonder what's up with Pan Glimpse of Talent. I mean, it's just a good 1-drop that has barrier, but it's not like 21 where you can like use this as a form of ramp. But I guess it is just a cantrip at the end of the day. We have 2 copies of Pilaf Shu and My Cunning Trio, seeming to just be a staple in any, you know, somewhat generic blue decks. We have Piccolo the Infiltrator as well, leaning into a bit more of an aggressive style with this deck, it seems like. Although we do have all of the, you know, Goku Black support that came out with the strategy. Oob, Focus Full Strength Blow, another just seemingly new blue staple in this format, thanks to set 21. We're choosing to play the Gohan Beast SCR. Very, very powerful stuff, of course. And since we're not playing like seemingly too crazy of a ramp deck, we're not playing SSB Kaioken Goku Divine Unity, I think it's called. I could be getting that wrong. I kind of misremember the name. But still, I mean, you know, much more lower to the ground Goku Black deck seems pretty cool. Going to the sideboard, we have a Z battle card. We have Baby Parasitic Premonition. Okay, I think I have an idea of why this is played. And, you know, anyone feel free in the comments to correct me if I'm wrong. This is actually pretty cool though. So you play this out. Obviously in this deck it has no real effect, but you play this out. It's a 1-cost unique barrier Z battle card. So what that does is it gives you immediate access to Android 17 defending friends. So you don't have to charge the 3Z energy to make it live. All you have to do is charge 1Z energy and play 1Z battle card, and now this thing is live. That's actually very, very cool. And it also will turn Decisive Strike on as well, because you have to have a blue Z battle card in play for this thing to be live. Okay, this is a very, very cool tech by this player. I've never seen this before. This is very, very neat. Kudos to this player for sure. All right, let's take a look at the first place Yellow Goku reboot deck. All right, right off the rip, this is super cool. So we have, of course, our Bulma Unison, which for the +2 plays any 3-cost childhood Goku that's not an ape. So of course we have our 4 copies of Explosive Spirit Son Goku. That's obvious. We're also playing Unyielding Victory Goku just as a barrier 20k, and that's very, very interesting. I've tinkered with a lot of lists that did exactly this, just like spam out Gokus, because sometimes you don't open or draw Explosive Spirit on time with your Bowling Unison, and when you plus 2 that Bowling Unison for no effect, it feels really bad, let me tell you. So this is very, very cool here. Now, what I'm noticing here is no copies of I'm a World Champion. I feel like this would be a great format to play this card. I mean, don't get me wrong, the space in here is definitely very tight because we're at 51 cards. We don't want to go too much over that, if at all. But I don't know, man. Like, with the format being slower, I feel like that's the deck's main way to really generate hand size. Of course, though, you do have now the better usage of Yamcha Dastardly Bandit, so you basically play that out, and you can now use Hercule Rallying Hope to tap your Gokus to get more draws off Yamcha than ever before. So maybe I'm a World Champion is not super necessary. I haven't played this deck in this format too much, so that could definitely be the case here. Now we have Wings, Lord Slug's Henchman, a very interesting super combo. If your leader's yellow, your leader's Z leader, or you have 2 or more Z energy or a Z battle card in play, draw a card. Okay, so this is basically the Gogeta equivalent for yellow. I still kind of think that just playing more Krillin will be better. Like, yeah, there are some instances where this would be live where Krillin wouldn't be, but I mean, I don't know. This player is choosing not to play Surmounting, which I guess makes it less likely to go down to 5 life when you need to. We're also not playing blocker negates, so I could see this player being stuck at 6 quite a bit of the time, I guess, and that might be the reason for playing Wings. Makes sense when you put it in that perspective. And then going through the rest of the main deck here, we have the Cooler SCR, which is another very interesting choice. I'm always hesitant to play this cards in non-untapping decks, like basically decks that aren't Soul Striker or Golden, because if you don't win the game tapping out for this thing, it could be a little bit rough on the clapback, but I mean, it's all contextual, of course. Going down to the side deck, we have Ultimate Dark Dragon Slaying Bullet for your anti-Unison hate, which is like, you know, the Golden Freezes of the world, and a lot of other standard stuff here as well. Let's take a look at the second place Blue Trunks list. So is this thing resembling anything like Crimson? Let's take a look here. We have 4 copies of Borgos, which definitely resembles Crimson quite a bit. We have our Archetype Cantrip, which is just immediately played if it's hit out of your life, which is very, very cool. We have our Goku Super Combos, which I believe was errated. Yeah, it's at 10,000 power. This is exactly on par with Gogeta BR and the Wings Super Combo we just saw. And yeah, overall, this is a very combo-centric version of this leader, so it definitely seems like it's meant to resemble a Crimson Goku type of deck, which I think is interesting because this type of deck is much better in a format where aggro is more prevalent. I wouldn't say this is exactly a format like that, but still cool to see this deck succeed nonetheless. But anyways, guys, that goes over all the lists that I wanted to go over. Very, very cool stuff. Again, smaller tournaments, so take it with a grain of salt, but still very cool strategies to see succeed here. If you guys have any questions, drop them down in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.